Thank you. It feels so nice to be here, actually.
I understood that it's your first time at Love Tomorrow.
It's my first time in Love Tomorrow, and it's been great so far.
Okay, let's keep it great. I introduced you as a young man at the level of Europe's power. I think that's correct. You have a special portfolio in this European Commission.
I have the best portfolio in
You
the
have-
European Commission.
Okay, great to hear that you see it that way. But a pretty challenging thing as well to make your mark. Could you start by introducing, maybe very short, yourself? What's the perspective of a 36-year-old commissioner from Malta on youth, on Europe and Europe's future for youth?
So first of all, it's an exciting time for Europe. I'm coming from the smallest member state in the European Union. I've been privileged to be assigned what I feel is truly the best portfolio in the European Commission, and that's basically working for young people, working for Europe's prosperity, because young people are, in my opinion, the best asset that we have in the European Union, and I get to do the things that better the quality of life in our continent. So my focus is on youth, culture, and sport, which I think Europe is the best continent for, globally.
Okay, but do you think Europe's youth is feeling the same way? Because when you look at social media, you see them China maxing. I think Donald Trump is a little less popular right now, but is Europe in the heart of our youth?
I see so many exciting examples and so many exciting stories from young people all across Europe that this is something that gives me hope on a daily basis. So I see young people developing and starting their own companies literally from their bedrooms. Young people involving themselves in different sectors of our economy, in the creative economy, but also in tech and in other sectors. And I think these are the stories that we have to be talking about even more frequently and giving a platform to. And that's why I'm so excited to be here, to be sharing the stage on these issues.
And how is Europe trying to make things better for Europe's youth? What accents are you trying to lay in these policies of Europe right now?
The way I see it, our responsibility is to identify talents, to notice what's going on, to notice where the opportunities exist, and create the platform for young people. We do this in multiple avenues of our work. I do it particularly with programs and funding like Erasmus Plus that give possibilities for young people to do projects that they're passionate about. But in other sectors, for example, in tech or in business, there are multiple programs that try to create an environment where it's possible to have an idea, to develop it, to grow it, and to turn it into something which ultimately prospers and flourishes.
If you're talking about funding, is there one project you could talk about or elaborate that really, where your heart is in, where you see, okay,
Just one?
we have a very short time.
So I've already mentioned Erasmus Plus, and I think this is the best example of what Europe has to offer. It's the most known program, and for many young people, this is an opportunity to experience Europe, to feel Europe, to be able to have a mobility experience, to be able to go to another country, to make new connections, to learn, because these are non-formal educational experiences as well. But one which is very close to my heart at the moment is European Solidarity Corps, which is a program which is designed for young people to do volunteering work on any issue that they feel passionate about, whether it's circular economy, whether it's sport, whether it's culture, whether it's whatever, you name it. You can do volunteering work, you can travel at the same time, you can experience different cultures, and you get paid for it. So I think that's pretty amazing, right?
That sounds pretty amazing indeed. what's your view on well-being? Because we live in the most, I think, one of the most prosperous corners of the world. But when you look at Europe's youth and you look at statistics, it's not that you become happy when you see these statistics. A lot of European young people are feeling bad or pretty gloomy. What's your view on that?
Look, I think Europe is the best continent to live in. So that's the starting point. But this being said, I don't think we can fool ourselves and say that the situation is perfect. We need to have a culture change. In the sense that it's not okay for people to say that they're feeling, that we need to hear people say that they're feeling stressed or burnt out, and that's a good sign. For many, it's the perception that you're stressed means that you're working hard. This should not be the case. We have to have a much greater emphasis on the quality of life. People don't just live well if they have a good job. You need spaces for people to be able to have some quiet time, some downtime. You need parks, you need libraries, you need theaters, you need sports centers, and you need festivals like this, because this is how you improve
But
the
some
quality
people,
of life.
some older people, maybe people like myself, think it's all there. The things you talk about, libraries and stuff like that, and sports facilities, we have it all, and still they feel gloomy. How is that possible?
I would say we need more of these spaces, especially, we were just talking before we came on stage, with the digital spaces slowly creeping in and become a bigger part of our lives. We need to dedicate much more attention, much more emphasis to creating spaces offline that people could go to. So we need to give people better opportunities, something to attract them to spend much more time in, 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 in offline spaces. Because ultimately, when you meet in a place like this, so we're at a festival here. I've just been to another festival in Slovakia. These are places where actually people are coming together, where they meet, where they talk, where they listen to music, where they listen to a conversation like we're having today. Probably they will argue about it. They will say, maybe this artist I like more than that artist, and that's fine. You do it in a respectful way, but at least you create conversation, you create dialogue, and that's where ideas flourish and turn into greater things. Huh?
How worried are you about these online spaces? You talk about the need for offline. These online platforms are non-European, they're Chinese, they're American. What's Europe's view or the European Commission's view on those?
Well, from my angle, from where I'm standing, I think our focus should be on protecting people in online spaces. This is our core objective, protecting people. Now, in this endeavor, everyone has a responsibility and everyone has a part to play. It's not us versus them. It's not governments versus the tech sector. It's not the parents versus the tech sector. It has to be a joint effort. Now, we speak about taking people offline and getting especially children and young people off the screens as if it was something that's easy to do. Many families and many parents would tell you that they're expected to make their children go off their screens at the dinner table, to convince their children at home to spend more time in the park or at the playground and less time on screen. It's not that easy. This is where their friends are. This is where their peers are. So it's not as simple. Platforms have their responsibility, and it's clear that this is a responsibility that they must shoulder. They're the architects of the social media element in our life, so they can help us find the solutions to make sure that what is on these platforms is actually safe, and that these billion-dollar algorithms that we expect parents to challenge at the dinner table are actually designed in a way that is safe by design, but then also parents have responsibility. We as policymakers have our responsibilities to shoulder too. We have to create spaces like this, and we have to make the time to focus on these issues.
Talking about that dinner table, if I succeed to get my children at the dinner table and we're talking, and they ask me what skills should I teach myself, or should I get taught at school to become successful in Europe's future, what skills do you have in mind?
Well, look, I'm not a parent, so I'm possibly the last person you should take advice from on this. But I would tell anyone who has children to let them follow their passion, follow or learn the skills that in life they will feel fulfilled by. And apart from the formal education side, there's a lot of skills that you can learn from the non-formal education structures, from theaters, from music groups, from dance groups, from sports clubs, from youth centers. So I would actually, I actually think that civic education, digital literacy, these have to be part and parcel, a crucial part of our education systems going forward.
And if they ask, what are the unique European assets that Europe has to offer to these children, why shouldn't they leave for China, America? Why Europe?
So, Europe is the best. I'm going to make a bold statement, which I've made before, but I want to double down on. Europe is the best place to live. Then, Europe is the place where there is talent. What we need is more ambition. We need, that fire under the bum, where we create the possibilities, because ambition and ambition is contagious. So if you see someone that's ambitious, that's always pushing to do better, you will probably think, maybe I should push myself to be like this as well. So in my view, I think we need more ambition. We need to be more bold, more courageous, and create spaces for young entrepreneurs and beyond to take a risk and try something.
Okay. All young people are looking at AI, experimenting with AI. How do you see this challenge for Europe, or how do you see this as an opportunity and as an opportunity for Europe's youth?
Look, AI is a transformation. And like most transformations, it comes with challenges and it comes with opportunities. AI can generate content, but it can never replace humans, and it can never replace emotions. So if you take a festival like this, AI will never be able to feel what the crowd is. It can generate a playlist, but it can never feel the crowd. So the human element will always be needed. It's about finding the way or creating the right interplay between AI and the human side. It's something that needs work, that needs education. We have to find ways of living with AI while not letting it replace human creativity.
You are part of the European Commission, I think, and I mean this very respectfully, but the last thing young people are thinking about every day is the European Commission and politics, maybe. How?
I wouldn't say that young people aren't thinking about politics.
Not about the European Commission, right?
But part of my job, or a good part of my job, is focused on youth. And that involves a lot of listening. One thing that gives me hope is that young people still care. They care about their community. They care about the spaces where they can share their opinions. And essentially, that means that they still care about Europe. So that's one thing that makes me feel optimistic, and I think, yeah, it's one of the things that makes me feel upbeat about the future.
And are there ways to connect young people better
Yeah.
with politics,
Look,
or things that the European Commission can do better to connect with people in general?
I'm a firm believer that people nowadays, young people, but also society more broadly, want to feel like they are part of the decision-making processes, right? So we cannot, as a politician, we cannot expect young people or people to come to us. We have to be in the places where they're at. That's why I try to spend time in festivals, why I try to spend time in community places, because this is where Europe lives. This is where you can get the best information about how people are feeling, what they're passionate about, what they think should be protected, or where they think that we should do better. And we have to be much better connected to our community. And this is, for me, the recipe to a more successful union and a more successful Europe.
If your job is to go to festivals, you really have the best job in the
I
Commission.
showed you. I go to festivals, I go to theaters, I go to libraries, I go to community centers, to sports events.
And you're being paid for this.
And I'm privileged.
To finish it off, is there anything concrete that you could give to these people who are all entrepreneurial people? If there would be one lesson to take home, if they want to do good for Europe's youth, what would it be?
I would say, be bold. Don't be afraid to take a risk. This one's a bit maybe controversial. Don't ask for permission. Just try it. Do it. If you fail, get back up and try again. This is the best advice that I can give.
Okay, Glenn, thank you so much for
Thank
this
you.
conversation.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.